Hey, Lab Coat Agents, it's Tristan, and we've got Regina with us, and we've got Joe. If you don't know Joe, you're about to know Joe. So, thanks for joining us today. Regina, thanks for coming on with me. Nick couldn't be here today. He's flying back from LA to New Jersey.
Wow.
So, Regina is filling in. She's a broker out of Carlsbad, California. So, if you have any referrals, send them her way. I'm out of
Woohoo!
Los Angeles. And Joe, if you don't know Joe, Joe started in the business as an agent, right, Joe?
Yes,
Way
sir.
back.
Way
And
back.
then he shifted over to become a coach to help out agents in learning the process of getting lots of referrals to really focus on that for your business. And then it shifted. Joe, I see you shifted from referrals and your business into just a whole new you, man. I saw you starting to work out and then changing the whole mindset thing. You're really motivating to a lot of people out there. I'm one of those people you motivate. I kind of stay quiet in the background, but man, you bring so much to the table. I didn't even know where to start, but I wanted you to tell us a little bit about how you got started as an agent for those people that don't know you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for those kind words. That's fun to hear a person's perspective, when they're watching it from the outside in. And Regina, thank you for your welcome there too.
Yeah, we're glad to have you.
Yeah. I'm moved up from the San Diego area to my little town up here in Forestville about a year ago. So I was been living in and around the Encinitas area for almost 20 years. So that's a beautiful area, and I love where you're at. So congratulations on that move. That's one of the best places in the world to live.
Yes, Encinitas isn't too bad either.
So, yeah, I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and grew up with an entrepreneurial father. Mother was a school teacher, and the combination of the two somehow got me into the real estate business. I think the entrepreneur, and then later on the teacher. And I worked for my uncle. This is 1976, 77, 78, 79.
Wow.
It was a different time. I mean, our average sales price was $36,000. If you were $1 million producer, you made $17,500.
Wow.
And it was kind of a funny thing. You put on your business card $1 million producer. And it's like, yeah, I made 17.5. That was my income. So,
people still do that today, I think.
Yeah.
Number one agent. Woohoo!
Yeah. But it was important to me at that moment. As a guy who did $1 million, I was really excited about it. So, I was proud to announce that to the world. And my uncle Jim, he was proud of me. I was young. I was 21, and at that time it was fun. And then I crossed paths with a man named Tom Hopkins. You
Oh yeah, out of Simi Valley, man. Tommy.
Yeah. And it was a real blessing. I went to one of his seminars, sat in the audience, and there was a call that I got that said something like, check this out. What he's doing is really, there's something that inspires you. And so I went up to him afterwards and I said, hey, listen, I'd like to find out how I could work with you. And he pointed to another guy and he says, talk to this guy. Short stories. A long story short, one thing led to the next, and before you know it, I'm working with Tom Hopkins selling real estate at the same time. And then I did so well selling tickets to a seminar, he invited me to come on full-time on board. And then I took over a region, moved to Southern California, and then I just fell in love with the training business. The whole business, the behind the scenes, the business of the business. And then learning how to train, learning how to coach, learning how to design products, learning how to create a message for the audience.
Dude, you learned that from Tom? I didn't know that. I didn't know you learned that. That's pretty sweet to have.
Yeah. I learned the business from him. He had a good business at the time, extraordinary business, a very profitable business at the time.
Wow.
I wanted to learn how to run a seminar company. And so I learned that from him. And then I went and worked for a guy named Nightingale Conant for a while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I worked
That's great.
Took them on, they took a lot of their stuff on. And then, at one point, I think I was probably 30 years old, 35 years old, 33. And then I just said, I'm going to do this on my own. And I started my own business called By Referral Only. And
when was that? When did you start By Referral Only?
That would have been back in 1981, 82, 83.
Wow.
That time period, yeah. And then it morphs, Tristan, like every business. It morphs, and we're trying to figure out what we wanted to do and how we're going to do it. We pretty much, I'd like to say, my partner at the time, Joe Allen, we invented the free half-day seminar. We're the first group of people to do that, where we said to the real estate agent, come to the workshop for free, and then we would fly in, and it was, an opportunity for us to sell books and tapes. And so I traveled around the country a lot, selling books and tapes. And then after we make a run around the country, I'd have to shut down, and I'd have to make a new set of tapes so I could have a new topic, and then go back out. And I did that for about 10 years. Every year came out with a new product. And then eventually I came across a man named Cabot Roberts. You ever heard that? Remember that?
Yeah, I have.
One of the wisest men, and he was a mentor of mine for a long time. And he really took me under his wing, and he said, he saw me as a gifted contributor, and he said, Joe, there's two ways that you can go in this business. You can, number one, you could always look for a new audience and keep your same talk. Like, just keep the same talk. It's funny. It's alive. Just go find a new audience every day. Mm-hmm. Or you can keep the same audience, but develop a new talk every year. And he said the one is a little easier. There doesn't take a lot of personal development, because you just have to kind of put the quarter in and let it go. And a lot of guys have chosen that path. They just, you could almost mark time with their talk. And then there's the other one that you have to really work hard on yourself if you're going to keep the same audience, because they can see through the thin veneer of the unauthentic. Like, they can see through it. If you're seeing somebody speak for the 10th time, you're like, this is kind of,
that's so true.
Yeah. And so I chose that path. It's more of I'd say it's more of one is the limelight and the other is the light. You really have a choice, like, where do I want to go? Because the limelight is constantly new people, like, no, you're the best ever, versus the more of the light, where you're working deeper with people. So I have a group of people called Brovance. We meet every 90 days in San Diego, 150 people. And we've been doing that for 7 years. And every 90 days, 150 agents come together. And they're not all that impressed with me. Now, if I went out and spoke to at a big convention, everyone would be like, whoa, 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 because it's new, but this group, like, they know who I am. And I like that. And I think that that's what a referral business gives you, is an opportunity to move from the limelight into the light, if you choose to go that path. Because when you're promoting yourself and convincing people, you have to put yourself into the limelight. Mm-hmm. When you're referred or recommended to somebody, they've already put you up there. You don't really have to do the convincing. Really, what you have to do is the connecting. And connecting is very different than convincing. And that's why I think people love the referral side of businesses, is that they're natural connectors. And it's awkward to try to convince, persuade, influence somebody who doesn't know you to like you, to trust you. And you got an hour where, you have a complete relationship, saying, hey, you're the right person for us. And that's carried with you into that conversation.
So how did you get into,
awesome.
How did you get into deciding that you were going to teach and train people on referrals? Because the way I see it, it's still the number one way to get business.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's still all of NAR's research says that, 75 to 80% of all buyers or sellers would much rather work with an agent that comes to them pre-endorsed or introduced to them by somebody else. They'd much rather do that. Doesn't always work out that way. But
or a previous agent that they've used before, if only that agent would have kept in touch with them, right?
Yeah, yeah. And in the transitory nature of our industry, only, right now, only 1 out of 5 agents are in the business that were in the business 7 years ago. So if the turnover cycle is every 7 years in a home, most of the time the agent isn't even in the business anymore. if that person came to them from an unreferred source. So we don't find a lot of agents who are in the business 7, 10, 12, 15 years.
Right.
And so that lends itself to, like not a lot of repeat for people.
Mm-hmm.
In a big portion of it. It's not the reason why, but it's part of that. Kristen, your question was, how did I get into the referral side of the business? Yeah. I think there was a moment in time when I met with a guy named Mike Ferry. You ever heard of Mike Ferry?
I think I've heard of him. Regina, how about you?
Absolutely. Yeah. All the fairies.
Yeah. So
I've heard of all the fairies too.
Yeah. So this is maybe 1990. Mike Ferry, Howard Britton, Dave Knox, a guy named Barrett, I can't remember his first name, Bill Barrett, and myself got together at Mike Ferry's office, and we were having a mastermind group of what we were doing in our business to be successful. Now, I was the new guy on the block, and I'm sitting around all these guys that have been around for a long time and somewhat legends in my mind at that time. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because I was listening to the conversation. The conversation was really all about how do we make our superstars? How do we amplify this whole notion called superstar, the superstar agent? Mm-hmm. And what was really amazing, it was in my heart really was, where's the conversation about the client experience? It was all about how much money the agent was making, right, promoting the agent. I was going, where's the conversation about what the client is experiencing when they're buying or selling a house? And there was like hush around that, like who gives a damn? All we want to do is get to the next one. And I was like, that's not a value that I subscribe to inherently. And so I recognize that whenever you're going to build a competitive position, Coke versus Pepsi, there is you have to find a natural way of communicating what is your differentiation.
Right.
So I saw this whole thing called superstar, and the kind of the corollary to that is super servant. And I remember writing down in my journal that day, super servant.
Wow.
And I really started to study the whole concept of servanthood and started looking deeply into that in my spiritual beliefs. And then I connected the dots to the concept of buy referral only through my friend Patty Lund and Jay Abraham and some other great marketers. And
well, Joe, if people could just stop and think right there with what you said with super servant, if we could approach real estate that way,
right?
Because what you just said when you met up with these people that you look up to at the time, and they say, you know what, let's just move on to the next one. I think that's a mentality that some agents have in our business right now. Let's just go on to the next and then not focus on how we can be of service or how we can be servants to the people that really need our help. And that's a big challenge. That's really
and the customers, they know that. They know when an agent just has a get rich quick mentality and doesn't care about them versus the agents that are in it for the long haul, who follow up, who make sure that their customer is happy. And in the long run, those are the agents that are going to stay in business, like you said, for the long term, and that are going to be profitable, because the agents who are after a quick buck, when the market changes, they're going to go find something else to do.
Yeah. Yeah, the client, in the realm of all the different types of people who will engage with a real estate agent, there are some clients who could give a hoot about having a relationship with a realtor.
True.
Right, that's true.
They want the lowest possible commission. They don't want to have a lifelong relationship. They look at it as a transaction. And we're not trying to change that. We're not trying to say you want to look at me as your realtor for life. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there are people who, are looking for somebody who is an advisor, somebody who is a guide, somebody who is a protector, somebody who is going to really take care of them, like really need that. So, if you look at that spectrum there, building a referral business is not for all clients. It's not something that all clients even want. But what I've discovered is the clients that do want it, there's more joy working with them. There's less demand. You can take a little more time off. You can say, hey, listen, I'm going to be with my kids tonight. Can I show you the home at 2:30 instead of tonight at 4? And they give you more space. The other client
exactly
space for that. you know? So,
that's why I love referrals, is because you're working with people you know, you like, you trust, they have similar values, and you know you're on the same page with them. You're not constantly having to prove yourself to them.
yeah.
So Joe, I have a question here in regards to the referrals, because that's what you became really, really popular and famous for. How would you suggest agents, if so agents like me, I'm all about online leads. I'm not the greatest at keeping in contact with my past clients.
Right.
How would you recommend for someone like me or a newer agent to really focus on referrals? What's the first few things that you need to do, or the one thing that you need to focus on?
Well, first, a shameless plug, I would say to you, Tristan, that's okay. I'll do it for you.
All right. So where would they visit? Is it?
Well, here's the whole thing is any time you're going to make an adjustment in your business or improvement, the question that people ask is, how do I do it? And that's often takes them down a path where it never gets done. If how was the answer, everyone would be skinny and rich. You can go to Amazon and look up how to a million.
Hey, just watch a YouTube video.
Yeah, skinny, rich, and happy. But I think the answer more is when you're going to build something that is going to be sustainable is who will do it, not how to do it. Who will do it?
Mm-hmm.
So my business by referral only is the who business. Today we'll send out 1 million emails today. Our company, we might send out 7,000 birthday cards today to people all over the world. Right now on Facebook we probably will have 2,000 people will take the post that we provide them and they'll post it on their wall. So what we've done is we've looked at all the things that we need to systematize in your business in order for you to start to even say you are interested in having a relationship. Because you cannot say you're interested in a relationship if you don't build the structure that consistently and predictably stays connected to people. So people say, oh, I love referrals. Yeah, I love them when you give them to me, but I'm not necessarily interested in building the connection with you and providing the value to you and staying in touch with you in a meaningful way in order to earn them. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It does make sense.
Yeah. So that's like what we do. So, and I work very much like all the people who are watching here. We work on a contingent basis. We do not take any money from anybody until we produce a result. So we fund all the growth. So if you were to come and say, okay, Joe, I'd like to work with you, you'd have to give me 100 names, addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses. I'll put them into my database, and I am your assistant. I'm going to take care of it for you. And I have all the tools that I will do all the communicating to your client for you. And then at the end of 9 weeks, if you don't generate a referral or 2 or 3, if you don't produce the result, I'll just push stop and we're done. If you do want to continue for me to do that, it's $199 a month, and we go month to month. And when it doesn't work, press stop and we just discontinue it. And so
it's just, for those people listening, because I'm getting questions here on my messenger, it's just $199. That's it?
Yeah, $199 a month. And we're your referral assistant behind the scenes doing all that work for you.
Right. I think that's fabulous because, as an agent, that's the hardest thing that we have is following up with these people and staying in contact with them and keeping them relevant or keeping us relevant and keeping our name out in front of them. So anything that we can put on autopilot and then spend the rest of our time going out meeting with people and generating leads and networking, doing things that a computer can't do, and let your system do the rest. I think that's a fabulous system. Yeah,
Regina, you're so right on. The skill that we want to put our energy into is how really good linguistically, how to have great dialogue skills when people are coming towards us. So if we send an email out to your client base and then they respond back and they say, yeah, I'd like to know more, what you want to do is get really good at responding to people who are moving towards you. Like really pay attention to that and have great scripts and great dialogues for that. And so what I got tired of doing was teaching people how to get people to pursue them. like how to get people to call you. And I said, I'll do that for you. You spend your time developing yourself as a person. So when you are with people, they like you. So they'll refer people to you. And that's a whole nother conversation, is like how referable you are is really how likable you are.
Yeah. That brings up a question that I have. I mean, you said you started with Tommy Hopkins, and obviously he's the master at scripts and dialogues and training, and just has such a great reputation for so many years in our industry. When you first heard the word scripts, were you a little bit hesitant to do something like that? Because sometimes we feel like a script is something a robot would say.
Yeah. Well, imitate, assimilate, innovate. That's my methodology. So in order to learn anything, we have to copy it. And then as it gets integrated and assimilated, then it starts to get regurgitated in your own way. You say it the way that feels most comfortable. So you have a script that would sound something like this when you sit down with a client. Say, hey, my purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I provide you that you gladly introduce me to at least one or two people who want to buy or sell a house even before your home is sold. And that would be something I would say right at the beginning of initial consultation. Now, that's word for word. My purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I provide you that you would gladly introduce me to at least two people that you care about even before I sell your home. Word for word. Now, imitate, copy that, get it down. And so maybe you're sitting with a client and now it's fully integrated and it sounds more like, hey, you guys, when I look at what we're going to get accomplished in the next couple of months together, is I really want you to be outrageously happy, just so outrageously happy that all you want to do is gladly yell from the rooftops and tell people that I am your real estate consultant. And maybe even one or two of them will buy or sell a house with me even before I sell your home. So that's my purpose.
Right. So I think that's awesome that you set the expectations right up front. You tell them exactly what you're going to do for them, what you are going to provide, and what you expect. I mean,
yeah. Well, yeah, if you don't plant referral seeds, there's no way you can harvest referrals later. What we teach is that from the moment you sit down with a client, you're just planting. And you may only ask once or twice during the transaction. And the asking sounds more like this. Hey, when we first met, I told you what my purpose was, that I wanted to provide you with a level of help that made you so outrageously happy that you would want to introduce me to people that you really care about. How am I doing? How am I doing with this? Am I on purpose with you? And if people go, oh yeah, you're doing great, now you have permission to ask, versus at the end of the transaction, by the way, do you know anyone else who would want to do what you just did? Which it's trying to harvest something that was never planted. It was never even spoke about. So plant early and often, and then harvest once or twice. You don't keep asking and badgering people.
So Joe, quick question, because I hear this a lot in the group and just from agents everywhere. Yeah. I don't want to ask before it closes. I just feel like, why would they give me a referral? What do you say to people that say that?
I think they're right on. There's the only time that you really do ask is when a person is in a state of appreciation. So when a person is in that state of appreciation, they go, oh, thank you. It's like a little bell that says, is this the time to ask? But you don't just call people up and say, hey, do you know anyone else who wants to buy or sell? When their state may be, I don't even like what you've done for me so far. Or like, it's too early for me to ask. But when somebody, let's say that you call up and say, hey, just want to let you know that after, helping the appraiser get together all the comps, it took me about 4 hours to get him together for him. And he was struggling to find the right property comps to get this valued properly because of the price that you got. We finally got it comped out. And the good news is your loan's approved. And the people go, oh, thank you, Joe. Thank you so much. Now's the time.
So you're not going to ask them when there's somebody, the other party is giving you a difficult time.
Yeah, of course. Like you would never want to ask when people are in yeah, sure, I want to give my best friend to you so you could take them through a road to hell, you know? Yeah. So does that make sense, Tristan? So most of the agents are intuitively right when they're saying, I don't want to ask.
Okay.
Man, they're absolutely right
on.
on.
What about those agents that say, I just never want to ask. I just want people just to give me referrals based on what I'm doing.
Well, you know, here's the facts. And I've done enough research on this, is that out of the population base, 15% of the population will never, ever introduce you to anybody. It's not what they do. It's those C personalities or those D personalities. They just don't do that. They don't take the risk because there's a high risk associated with introducing a real estate agent. Because if you do a lousy job, the reflection is on you.
That's true.
15% won't take the risk and won't, no matter what. And actually, if you ask them to refer someone to you, they'll actually say, no, if any of my friends are interested, they'll find you. They'll be clear about that. And then 15% of the population are mavens. That's what they do. They read a book, they tell everybody about the book. They go to a movie, they tell everybody about the movie. There's certain people in the population that you want to have in your influence. There are people who are out there really telling. Now, the only problem with mavens is they introduce and recommend everything to everybody. So sometimes their endorsement doesn't carry a lot of weight because that's all they do is recommend and endorse people. So you got to be careful with that. And then the other percentage of population, so figure if that's 30% of the population, figure 70% of the population, they'll probably introduce you, but you have to ask them in an intelligent, articulate way at the right time. Mm-hmm. You have to ask them.
So how would you ask someone, just for agents out there, because a lot of people are saying, well, how do I ask for a referral? I feel like I'm being too salesy, or sometimes I feel like I'm begging. What would a good script or dialogue be?
Well, I literally have hundreds of ways you can ask. I mean,
can we get a copy of those?
There's a book called 37 different ways to ask for a referral and get it every time. And there's all kind of variations of this, but let me just give you the context is that you have to plant referral seeds first. So learning how to plant a referral seed is what makes asking possible. Asking is pretty easy if you've planted a lot of seeds. So like little simple seeds, like when somebody calls the office and they are feeling good, like you give them an update and they're feeling good. And you might say to them, hey, Tristan, I just want to remind you that the same phone number that you just called me on is the same one that you give your friends if they need my help. That kind of stuff. Like little short chunks like that, scattered, sprinkled in all of your communication, in the PS of your email communication. Next time you're in a conversation with a friend or a family member who could use my help, take out your cell phone, look up my number, and call me immediately. Like planting that seed, like just little things like that, constantly. And then when the moment comes, like there's this high moment of joy. People are excited. And it could happen in a very orchestrated way where a person goes, gosh, thank you so much. You've really helped us find the home of our dreams. This is it. Here it is. Here's the moment. And in that moment, it's a conversation, not a request. It's like, hey, I would love to brainstorm with you. Different ways that you could let the people that you care about know that I'm your real estate agent. And I was wondering, when you think about it right now, there are a lot of people like you who live in an apartment that love to live in a home of their own. And as you're thinking about all your friends that maybe you went to college with or that you're working with are living in an apartment, who's the one that comes to mind first that's most likely to maybe own a home of their own? And now I'm asking in an intelligent way. I'm having a conversation with them.
Rather than just saying,
anyone else who wants to buy or sell.
Yeah.
Well, I love your scripts. I love the very first one you gave about, setting the expectations when you very first meet with that buyer or that seller about, my goal is to provide, I think you said outrageous service. I've taken so many notes. I don't know if I can find it here, but I think you said, okay, make you outrageously happy. I found it in my notes.
So here's where I'm coming from. Let me give you, so I have a master's degree in neurolinguistics. And
wonderful.
So when I use words like outrageously and gladly, they're very strategic. So when I say outrageously my purpose, not my goal, my purpose, which is more about them, is for you to be so outrageously happy. So when I use an LY word, what it does is it opens up the back door of the conscious mind for the other word to slide in. So if I go, my purpose is for you to be happy, your mind will say, I'll make that decision. But when I say my purpose is for you to be outrageously happy, your mind is now chewing on outrageously while happy slides in.
Oh, wow.
Can you feel that?
Good
Yeah.
tip.
And then I go, and so my purpose for you to be so outrageously happy with the help. Now, the word help is a very powerful word versus service. The word help is assigning a role that you're in trouble or you have a friend in trouble. Service is a benign word. It's even, like my purpose is to give you so outrageously, make you so outrageously happy with the service I provide you. It's very different than with the help that I provide you, that you gladly introduce me, not refer me, introduce me. Now that's a really important concept because the word introduce has a picture to it, referral doesn't. So when I say, think of a person introducing you, you can actually, there's some kind of image that comes together. When I say referring you, the mind doesn't create image for referral that easily. It can, but it's slow to perform. But I say, when you feel comfortable, would you please introduce me to the people that you care about?
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, when you feel comfortable, would you introduce me to the people that you care about who could use my help? Now, I'll just give you one more piece of context, and I'd love you asking me other questions, is that the number one reason people refer, I mean, by far, the number one reason people refer is it makes them feel good. Has nothing to do with you. People are not referring you because you're a good real estate agent. They're referring you because they're looking forward to impressing the person they know that they have the connection to you. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So when I refer a book, my friend Mark Devine, who runs SealFit, is a good friend of mine, and I recommended a book to him called Deep Work by Cal Parsons. And Mark does a podcast called The Unbeatable Mind. And I turn it on one day and he's interviewing Cal. And he opens up the interview and he goes, "Hey, Cal, I just want to thank you. I got your book from a good friend of mine, Joe Stump." Instantly, I went, "Whoa, yeah, that's that." I was up in the pecking order in the social stuff.
Makes sense.
Because I referred him the book. That's why I referred him the book. I didn't care if Cal makes money on the book. I don't even know Cal. I don't give a hoot about Cal. I love this book, but I wanted Mark to see me as a person who is a source for good stuff. And
right. It's all about the connection. And I think that's kind of how our human brain works. I mean, wouldn't you agree? It's all about connecting pieces, connecting people, things that connect.
Well, we're all tribal. And what we're looking for is just how do we raise our social status in the tribe? And one of the ways to raise ourselves in the tribe is to be connected to people that they're not connected to.
Okay.
And so when I refer a real estate agent and they come out and they blow your socks off. They're just amazing. And they call you up and go, "Thank you for introducing me to Regina. She was amazing. She came out and in the half hour that we spent with her, we learned so much, whether we list with her or not. Thank you, thank you, thank you." That's why they referred them for that moment. And so if you can understand that, when you ask people to introduce people to you, you're really saying, "I would love you to be the hero." And introduce your friends or your family members that you care about, that you want to make absolutely certain they get the help that they need. They get the advice that they need. Because I know you care about your friends. I know you care about the people close.
Right.
And so when you introduce me, my only goal is that they call you up and say, "Thank you for introducing Joe to me. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful." Now that kind of language is like a lot of future pacing going on there. And there's a lot of really cool things happening in the mind because that's how a person kind of walks through the process. Now, if I do introduce Joe and he doesn't do a good, or he doesn't do it, like they're walking through in their mind unconsciously. And so that's what I've learned how to do. And that's what we spend a lot of time teaching and design many courses, hundreds of hours of training around how to become really a masterful communicator in that whole realm of building a referral-based business.
So the language that you use is really important. So it goes back down to the dialogue and the scripts. And then yet I still hear agents saying, I don't think scripts are good. Dialogue, you know what? That's not for me. I mean, what do you tell those people?
Well, that's okay. People say to me, Joe, that doesn't sound like me. And I go, that's actually what I want you to say, because what's gotten you in trouble is the way you sound. I'm glad you recognize that doesn't sound like you. And when we open our mouth, we're either talking like a $5,000 a year person, a $50,000 a year person, or a $500,000 a year person. And I literally can listen to you talk and tell you how much money you make.
Wow.
Literally. I mean, it's like your language is what produces your income. So if you're happy with the income that your language is producing, it's probably not for you. It's okay. And if you think that, wow, my language is what earns me an income, I would always be on the hunt for better language, better scripts. Scripts, dialogues, language, whatever you want to call it.
Dude, that's a really good response, man. I love it. The next time somebody tells me, I say, yeah, you know what? That's okay. Your language, you said, your language is what produces your income. So, if you're fine sounding like $1, I'm okay with it.
Well, you're saying that, the messages that we tell others and we tell ourselves can either keep us in our comfort zone and possibly stuck, or it can move us forward, push those boundaries, challenge us, and develop challenge us to grow a little bit and develop in our careers. And then the income naturally follows, right?
Well said. Well said. Yes. I'm a big advocate that income is the caboose. Like income is more of a history of what you've learned up to this point. The leading indicator is like, what are you engaged in right now as a student, as a learner, that is in your calendar? Okay, tell me how many hours you have scheduled for training in the next 6 months. That tells me more about your future income than anything. And
wow.
So, I'm a big advocate for always having in the calendar stuff that is absolutely going to make you better. Like it's going to make you better, and because that's your future income. Your past income is everything that's already been consumed. It's like we're not going to change anything else. So when somebody says, "Yeah, I made $100,000 last year," I go, "Hey, that's awesome. Let me look at your calendar and see what you got scheduled for the next 6 months, because that will tell me what you probably will make next year." And,
wow.
Yeah, that you can see that with
so true.
Anybody,
Yes. Well, speaking of training, I just want to put in a little plug for Lab Coat Agents, because it's such an awesome site. Agents, we have 64,000 members now. I'm one of the admins on the site, and we are all contributing value to each other. I go on there and I learn things every day. It's amazing. After 28, almost 9 years in this business, I'm still learning things. I'm learning from this collaborative group. And I just think that's awesome. And I really appreciate the webinars that Lab Coats is bringing us, including you. I've gotten so many valuable gems out of this today so far. Yeah, so tell me, all right, do you have any seminars coming up that somebody could go to if they said, hey, I really want to hear these scripts and dialogues live and in person? Or do we have to watch YouTube videos?
No. I only have one way in. That we do a program called Fund Your Growth. We do it once a month, 50 agents at a time. It's a 9-week program. You have to qualify to get in. We send you an application. You submit an application. We have anywhere from 500 to 800 people a month apply. We pick 50 people, and then for free, and we commit to making them money and producing a result in 9 weeks. And if we don't, we stop the program. If we do, we invite them to continue with us. And we have about an 85% success rate with that. And so we bring in, we've got about 5,000 people who give us $200 a month around the world for our services. And we have an attrition rate of about 0.5% a month, about 6% a year. And so we're losing 300 or 400, 500 people a year. So we just want to maintain that. I'm not trying to have 20,000 members. 5,000 is fine, and we can support that. Anything beyond that, you have to change infrastructure. You have to get a bigger business. But we have found a way that we don't have to convince people to do this with us. I'd put them in, run the system. If it works for them, it does. If it doesn't, that's okay. Next, we're not the right company for you. So if that's of interest to anybody,
well, that must be some success. Sorry to interrupt. It just caught my mind when you said a 6% attrition rate, and the attrition rate in the real estate business is what, like 70% or something? So you must be doing something right if you're combating those statistics.
Well, what we've done right is we've taken over the role of sending the key communications to their clients. So once we get woven into someone's business, it's hard for them to leave. It's like, and that's what I want. I want them to go, it's ridiculous for me to leave for $199 a month. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, they're obviously staying in the real estate business is what I'm saying, because they're not dropping out of the business because of that income stream that's continually being generated.
Yeah. So Joe, for someone that's not part of by referral only, I mean, what would the structure look like for someone to keep a client for life and get referrals for life? How would that structure look?
That's a great question, Tristan, because having a realistic expectation of what somebody can actually produce in a lifetime for you. Yeah. So we call it ROR, return on relationship. So if let's say that you have a group of 150 people who you call your tribe. And these are people who like you, know you, trust you. If you bumped into them in the grocery store, they would go, hey, Tristan, good to see you. You would know a little bit about their family, a little bit about their business, and that kind of stuff. 150 is about the max. Some of them would be clients. Some of them would be friends. Some of them could be family members. There's kind of different levels of connection there. But max 150. So let's say that you've been able to accumulate that. And you have the data on good, clean data. Email address, phone number, mailing address, current cell phone numbers, because the data is all that really matters. Tristan, you know that. You're in the data collection business. You're only as good as your list. And you have on your list, you probably have your engaged participants, which is a certain percentage of your overall audience, which is your top 150. So let's say that everybody has a tier called the top 150. And some of the agents listening right now, maybe their top 150 only have 30 people in it now, but they're aiming towards 150 one day. So let's say that you've arrived at 150. And then what we look at is in the last 12 months, how many of those 150 people have repeated with you or have referred someone to you? And let's say that you come to me and say, Joe, out of my 150, what I figured out is that I had 15 transactions from that group in the last 12 months. So I would say, well, 15 out of 150 is 10%. You have a 10% return on relationship. Now that number is crucial because I'll often ask people, I'll say, hey, how's your business going? They'll go, oh, 100% referral. And I'll go, okay, what does that mean? And they'll go, yeah, I did 9 transactions. And I'll go, that I'm not all that impressed. You did 9 transactions, but then I'll say, how many people are in your base, on your list? And they'll go, oh, I have 150 people. And I go, oh, so you have a return on relationship of around 6%. And so what I'm interested in is how do we raise your ROAR, increase the return on relationship? So what we're good at is taking the ROAR and getting it up. Takes us about 18 months, but with our system in place and our training, we're pretty confident that we can get anyone wherever they are right now, we can get them up north of 20%. So if you came to me and you had 150 people in your database, I could say 18 months from now, 30 transactions will be coming from those 150 people.
No way. That's awesome.
Yeah, or we'll say you don't really we'll come to terms and say you don't really have 150 people who know you, like you, and trust you. You have a mailing list of 150 people. You don't have 150 relationships.
Right.
And we detect that over time. So we can look at the attention. We call it the attention rate, like how many people actually respond to a text message, how many people respond to an email, how many people look at your Facebook post. And we can look at those analytics. And all we're looking for, Tristan, is can we get 150 people who pay attention to what we say to them? And if we have 150 people who pay attention, I can take that roar north of 30-40%.
Dude,
you know?
Wow, that's amazing.
30 closings. I calculated that. That's $416,000 in commission for me.
Woohoo!
Terry Moyler, who's been an advocate of ours for many, many years, and I've been coaching her in her business, Scott, for almost 20 years. I think her roar right now is north of 40%.
That's insane.
Yeah. And when people say, where do you get all your business? She goes, well, I have 150 people who refer about 70 transactions a year to me.
Wow.
Now that 150 people are now, you guys, it's not that much. It's one from 150 people. If one person referred someone to you every 19 months, that's a 40% return.
Well, with those 150, wouldn't you have to, as they refer you to more people, wouldn't your database keep building and building, or do you take people who are less responsive out?
Great question. No, great question. It's called top grading.
Oh, okay.
And if you bring people in, you're taking people off who are paying less attention.
Okay.
And you're replacing them with people who are paying attention. The attention is what you're measuring. People who pay attention are the people who introduce and refer. And if you can't get people to pay attention to your messaging, your emails, your text messages, your Facebook posts, your direct mail, your answering your phone calls, if you can't get people to pay attention, then they're not going to give you time. See, people have to give you attention, give you time, and then once they give you time, then they decide whether they trust you or not, and then money follows. And so, Tristan, you know this in the internet business. What you're looking for is open rate, click-through rate. You're looking for attention. And get more people to pay more attention, and the caboose is the money. It follows. So we're good at that. We're really good at measuring, analyzing, and helping people build a base of 150 people who are paying attention.
Wow. So you mentioned Terry Moyler. She's actually my broker for Keller Williams over in Westlake. And I see her sending out so many cards, like thank you cards, birthday cards, anniversary cards, ever since I've known her, and I've known her for a while. Is that part of the whole process that you teach?
Well, it's either that or design a web page. It's either that or do a cold call. I mean, would you rather stand in the cold shower and rip up $10 bills than then sit down and when somebody has a birthday, write them a nice birthday card? Or if somebody's son just got their driver's license and you send the son a nice card congratulating on the driver's license. Like, being thoughtful in your communication is how you get people's attention. It's like, now that's not for everybody. There are some of your listeners right now that would rather have a Zillow do it for them or somebody else do it for them. But I just think that those things are such short-term solution to bigger systemic problems. And I'm not either for or against, outside lead generation service. It's a little bit of it's a false sense of reality when somebody else is generating and selling you your leads. Like, if anything can be sold to you, there's another person who will pay more for it eventually, and then they'll take it away from you. I just think you're better off inoculating yourself by having 150 people who are paying attention because they like you, they trust you, and you provide enough value for them, and they want to introduce you because when they do, it feels good. I think that's a worthy business of building. And then then you could grow it from there. I'm
going to pause you right there, because the people that are listening and people that will listen to this webinar, they're thinking, well, yeah, this sounds cool. I'm going to try it. But I mean, and I don't do this, and you tempt me so much to that. But when I see Terry Moyler do it, it's all in. You either do this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You either do this all in, or you don't half-ass it.
No, you can't. You can't fake playing the violin. It's either you do or you don't. It's the purpose of your business or it's not. I'll say to people, what's the purpose of your business? And most people will say to make money or to give great service, which I think is really relevant. But I would say that Tristan, this is just where I'm coming from. This is my belief system. Mm-hmm. Is when somebody says, what's the purpose of your business? I think the best word you could use is referral. Because when people do refer you, it means that you must be providing good service, and it's the most profitable thing that you're going to get anyway. And it's not for the faint of heart. It's all in. It's all in. You've got to say, I am all about creating the connection with people that they want to introduce me to one person every 12 to 24 months. That's what I'm all about. It's not easy, but it's worth it.
I have a question for you, Joe, and that would be, say somebody is listening today and they say, okay, well, I want to get started with my 150 people list. So how do I get started? I mean, whether they want to sign up for your service or do it on their own, maybe use a CRM management system or whatever, how do they go about weeding through their giant email list to narrow it down, whittle it down to those 150 people?
That's another great question. So there's, like, let's say you came and said, I got 600 names, on this list.
Okay.
And so we probably could do one swipe through and go, I have no idea who these people are, we could probably get it down to about 300. Agree? You probably get half of it down.
Well, yeah, most people can probably look in their phones and come up with 100 people, but whether those are people who are going to give them leads or not.
Okay, good. So let's say we got it down to 100. Out of the 600, we have now 100. We can recognize their name. We could go, gosh, if I went to their Facebook page right now, I would feel like I have a sense of connection with them. And that's always a good place to go. Look up a person's name and then go to Facebook and look and say, do I know them? like see if there's a connection there. And then see if you want a deeper connection with people. There are some people that you don't want to spend the time and energy and effort in this business with them like that. Just know that wherever you live, if it's Salina, Kansas, or if it's Chicago, if it's LA or Boca Raton, every agent on the planet could have 150 people that want to pay attention to them. The only thing is, how long will it take you to get there? Now, if you're going to be in the business for 5 years, that's a worthwhile goal of accomplishing in 5 years. Because there's nothing worse, I'll tell you both, guys, nothing worse than when I meet an agent who's been in the business for 20 years and they're looking to run an ad to get new business. I go, how many transactions have you done? And they go, oh, hundreds. I go, what in the hell has happened to you?
They didn't keep in touch.
This is where you're at. Well, they didn't have the mindset from the very beginning what the purpose of their business was.
That's what it was. Man.
Next.
Right.
So if you're going to stay in the business for more than 5 years, take the time to make the intention that is. So there's the 4 test: family, occupation, recreation, dream.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at a person, do I know anything about their family? Do I know what they do for a living? Do I know anything what they like recreationally? And do I know anything that is their dreams and aspirations? If I can get 3 out of 4 when I look at a person, they probably belong on my list.
Okay.
Can you repeat those, the 4 things?
So if I look at, just
posted it.
FORD. FORD.
Forward.
Family, occupation, recreation, dreams.
I just posted it in the chat.
And I go, do I know, do they have kids or not? I don't even know they have kids. Okay, don't got that one. What do they do for a living? Oh, he runs the bowling alley down in Sam's. Okay, good. And what's some of his dreams? I have no idea. What's he do recreate? I have no idea. Not on the list right now. So.
Okay, well that's great. I mean, you've given us some really wonderful tips.
Dude, I can't even write fast enough here. My hands hurt.
I have 3 pages of notes so far. Look.
Well, you know what would be nice? What Tristan loves is good feedback. So when we're done today, you want to tell Tristan how much good stuff you got from our call today. Because, Tristan, I really acknowledge what you're doing is creating a forum for community to learn collectively, which is no small task. The risk that you take is that you put a message out in front of your group of people and you're like, God, come on, 7. I hope it rolls. And you do your work, you do your homework in advance. And then when you do hit it, it's important that your community acknowledges you for that. And I'm talking to anybody who's watching right now. It's really critical that you give acknowledgement to the person who's willing to take the risk. Thank them, acknowledge them. And one of the ways you can acknowledge them is introduce other people to LabCoat, like pass it on, like share the love. I mean, that's the greatest thing you could do for Tristan. It's the nicest thank you could give for him. So
super sweet, man. We've got a few minutes left, but I didn't even touch on your mindset or your physical fitness. I know we touched on it for the people that joined us before the webinar started officially. But man, you've transformed your mindset even more, and your physique is like, dude, I don't even know where to start. How do you have time for it? How did you shift to that? Because it's so important for real estate agents. We're running around, eating bad. I'm going to McDonald's sometimes, and I don't even have time to eat. It's just,
you gotta love these conferences where we eat 3 times a day.
Yeah,
these big meals. And
dude, we've only got 3 minutes for it, but tell us, where do we start?
I think there's for me, there was in 2008 when the industry changed, and so I had to evolve real quick. And so I moved from being traveling around the world, sleeping in a hotel every night, to a completely online business. And so I mastered that. So I've got an amazing online business, which gives me a lot of space. And so my vision today, my purpose as the leader of my community, my tribe, is to model the potential that we have as human beings. That's my purpose. And so what I do is I look for things that appear to be impossible, and then pour my wisdom, my insight, my time, my energy, my money into making it possible, so I can model that for others. So in 2008, when that market turned, I just said, I'm going to live a different life. And so I started out, I became the oldest guy ever to make it through the Navy SEAL Hell Week. And I wrote a book about it.
Wow. Awesome.
Inspired. I wrote a book called Willing Warrior, sold tens of thousands of copies of it. And it inspired my group. My group said, wow, if Joe at 54 can be the oldest guy ever to make it through Hell Week, that's incredible. And I trained for a year for that. And then when I got done with that, I had this vision of getting to the CrossFit Games. And the CrossFit Games is a very elite. It's actually more elite than the Navy SEALs. Only one out of, there's 475,000 people who competed for the position. 320 got it. And so I'm one of 20 men over the age of 60 who will be competing in 2 weeks at the CrossFit Games.
Wow.
Which is an extraordinary honor. And I'm very, very proud.
Wow,
and
man.
That. So,
how old are you, man?
What's that?
How old are you?
I'm 60.
Wow, you're doing great.
Yeah, life is good.
I was just checking. You said you wrote a book. I was checking on Amazon under Joe Stumpf, and there's a lot of books. Are those all yours? Or I know you've written a few books, but.
Yeah, I've written about 20 books.
Oh, no wonder. Okay. Wow, you're a prolific writer. I love that.
Joe, you and Tony Horton from P90X, man.
Yeah. Well, the difference is I fly a little lower below the radar because I serve only my community. So I'm not out searching for new people all the time. I don't have to be running around doing lots of stuff because my tribe brings in the next person. Like they know the value that I offer, and I put my time into serving them, and I take all the money they give me and I pour it back into them, as opposed to taking the money they give me so I can go spend it looking for more people. And so I any book I ever write, everybody in my tribe gets a copy of it for free. I mean, it's all
awesome. So you Power Productivity, that's your book?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, I'm posting a link right now. Yeah. There we go.
All right, Joe, I'm actually gonna join, man. You're pretty inspirational.
Come do Fund Your Growth. Do the Fund Your Growth process with us. Do the 9-week process. And let me take you through 9 weeks. I take people live through the experience. We meet once a week for 9 weeks for an hour with a group of about 50 agents. And you cannot start until all your name's in our database. We won't even get started with you. Okay. And then once we hit the start button, then every week we release a new tool to your client base. We're mailing people, we're emailing people, we're doing all the communication to them, and then you are learning how to respond to it. And then you go, at the end of 9 weeks, you go, look at this, now I've gotten 5 appointments. Maybe one transaction you probably won't close something in 9 weeks, but you'll certainly be falling towards a result. And so, and if you like it, stay with us. If not, hasta luego. It's okay.
All right. Yeah. I love it. Regina, do you have any closing questions or comments?
Well, I really appreciated all the tips you gave us today. And I'm looking on Amazon at a couple of your books. And, for people who want more Joe Stumpf, where do they go or what do they do? I mean, besides looking on Amazon for the books, do you have YouTube videos or, website or what else? Where can they find out more?
You can go to buyreferralonly.com.
Okay. I'll put that in.
That's a place you can look. Brovance, I have a community that's an advanced group, much more advanced. You have to be a pretty significant player to be there. It's brovance.com.
Okay.
And then I would just say, Lori Westbay, Lori, if you're online right now.
Yeah, I see her.
Yeah, Lori, would you just put a link into the Fund Your Growth there? Lori, if you would put a link in there, Lori can give you a link and she could you could post that link, and that's where people could find out about the Fund Your Growth program.
Okay, there we go. I put in a link to Buy Referral Only also.
Yeah.
Awesome. Joe, any closing statements?
Say it again.
Any closing statements, comments?
I would say we live in the most amazing time right now. Look what we're doing right now. Look at this.
Very true.
This is incredible. So I don't care what the news says, about anything, the political landscape, anything like that. We live in a time that it's never been more possible to make the impossible true. Never. I mean, this is so incredible. And so my belief is that the real estate industry is here to stay forever. And I just watch Warren Buffett, and I watch what he does very carefully. And he's only named one of his companies after his primary company, and that was his real estate company. The Berkshire Hathaway is a real estate company, and he named his primary company a real estate company. And it's not called real estate, it's called home services. He's recognized that the industry is evolving into a home service industry. And we talked a lot about that in other trainings, but recognizing, and watch what he does. This guy has weathered every economic storm there is, and he has invested more money, his own personal fortune, into Berkshire Hathaway than he has into any other area. So I love that there's where he's putting his money. So that tells me, we're all in the right business. It's not going anywhere. Zillow, these things are all things that support the process. What is never going to end is the last 100 feet of a real estate transaction will always require a real estate agent. Everything else will be digitized, but the last 100 feet never will be digitized. And that last 100 feet is connection with a human being. The transaction is too unique. Every property is too unique. Everything that has been digitized completely is commodities that do not have a unique aspect to it. But this has such a unique emotional connection to it, it cannot be digitized. Oh, there's certain portions of it, but there's a majority of the population is too emotional. We thank God that they'll pay for this part of the transaction. So you're all in the best business. There's never been a better time to connect with people. Technology is there. Tristan's created an amazing community for you, and I'm grateful that you gave me a chance to be with you. So I know you guys got to go. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Joe. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Yay.
Have an amazing day.